Hello and welcome back to the Onside Kick Show. I'm Zach Stein here with Gavin Lemke.
Welcome back. Happy hump day, everybody.
Happy hump day. It is a gorgeous, almost 50-degree weather day here in Iowa City, January 31st. And we are going to be kicking off the first video episode like normal with some trivia. We'll talk about some news later, Ravens, Chiefs, go into some coaching hires, all that good stuff. So if you guys do enjoy, be sure to hit that like button on YouTube, subscribe to the channel, go peep the Instagram at Onside Kick Show. And if you're listening on KRUI, you know what to do. Go check out all that stuff. So, Mr. Gavin, I want you to give me one guess as to what you think this trivia is going to be about today.
Is it something related to the Super Bowl?
I'm guessing. That would be my guess.
It's really always pretty obscure. We honestly have no idea what we're getting into every week. But I'm ready to test my knowledge right now.
Yeah, and last day in January, who knows what we could be coming up with. You are absolutely correct. This is going to be something to do with the Super Bowl. So, trivia powered by fantasyindex.com for today, January 31st, 2024. If Kansas City comes out on top in Super Bowl 58, Blaine Gabbert will join a small subset of quarterbacks to win Super Bowls with two different teams. So he was the backup for Tom Brady 3 years ago. Who are the only other three quarterbacks selected with top 10 overall picks who have done this?
You're telling me Blaine Gabbert was a top 10 overall pick?
Yep.
And that he has a couple Super Bowls?
I believe in 2011, he was I think that was the Jake Locker, Blaine Gabbert year.
I'm shocked.
With Cam Newton, yeah.
I'm shocked.
Crazy.
So Blaine Gabbert, so he's obviously in some elite company, right?
I mean, he must be, yeah. Only three other quarterbacks, top 10, who have won Super Bowls with two different teams.
Super Bowls with two different teams. Well, I mean, Peyton Manning, right? Broncos,
yeah,
Colts.
It's got to be. It's got to be that.
Has to be that.
Yep.
Yeah, that's interesting, man. Blaine Gabbert, career backup. Like, I never would have thought of him as a Super Bowl champion. I find that really interesting. You got anybody else in mind? Peyton Manning seems like the obvious one.
Yeah, he's the obvious with the first overall pick. I mean, looking to the top 10, I'm trying to think.
Yeah, obviously they mentioned years. Tom Brady.
Yeah. Mahomes was the 10th pick, but he's only played for one.
Mm-hmm.
Trying to think of Super Bowl winning quarterbacks. Matt Stafford didn't win a Super Bowl with the Lions, unfortunately. So
that's a good point, man. Thanks for bringing that up.
Just had to remind you there. Yeah, wow, okay. Peyton Manning. I'm trying to think of other number one overall picks. Cam Newton didn't win. Drew Brees wasn't in there. Eli Manning's not a Super Bowl champion.
Yeah, I mean, just thinking of guys who have won Super Bowls recently, right? We got Mahomes, we got Brady, we got Peyton Manning. We got Nick Foles. He won a Super Bowl.
Yeah, but he wasn't drafted in the first. I mean, that was his one. Man, I'm trying to think.
I'm stumped, man.
This is a tough one. It's got to be a fairly older one.
And they said three quarterbacks?
I mean, Kurt Warner wasn't the first. I mean, was Brett Favre a second-round pick?
Yeah.
Man.
They got me here. And my NFL draft knowledge does not go past like 2009, so I'm not.
Was Joe Montana a top 10 pick? And did he win a Super Bowl with the Chiefs when he was there?
That's a good point. Should we throw him in there?
Maybe. The only reason I'm hesitant, I'm pretty sure when Mahomes won, that was the first time the Chiefs had won the Super Bowl.
Oh, okay.
So that would be why I'm hesitant.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I mean, we can just throw a prayer out there.
Three other quarterbacks? That surprises me.
They gotta be. So we got two more.
These gotta be like 80s, 70s guys.
It's gotta be.
Or like 60s guys when the league was first formed. Something like that.
Don't they Culpepper win a Super Bowl? I don't think. Okay, well, what I am going to do, I'm just going to look at a list of general NFL teams in case there's one team that's jutting out here that I'm forgetting. NFL teams by division.
The Peyton Manning one is obvious, and then, I don't know, I honestly don't mind the Joe Montana. He might have played in a Super Bowl with KC. Not sure that he won one.
Oh, I didn't even think about it as a backup.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, that's huge.
Should we go like Chase Daniel or like somebody who's been a career backup and like maybe they've won a couple?
Well, he wasn't in the top 10, I can tell you that much. Chase Daniel was not in the top 10.
I forgot about that, man.
Yeah.
These trivia questions are hard.
Yeah,
I'll be honest.
All right, so we got Peyton Manning. Let's throw out Joe Montana.
Yep.
And Number one. I mean, Dan Marino didn't go anywhere else. Just let's get one other name here. What about like Drew Bledsoe?
Okay.
There's no way.
Yeah, I could rock with that. I mean, he won one with the Patriots, right?
I think he
as
did.
A backup,
yeah,
as a batter. Brady won one for him.
I think he was as a starter. I think he won as a starter. I'm pretty sure. I could be wrong. And then I know he was on the Bills, Cowboys.
Yeah.
So maybe Drew Bledsoe. Because the only reason I say that is because he was the number 1 overall pick. I don't know.
Okay.
Who else?
Should we submit?
Sure.
Should we ride with this?
Drew Bledsoe, Peyton Manning, and Joe Montana.
Joe Montana.
Top 3. Let's roll.
And I'm taking a peek right now. We don't know anything.
No,
about
we
the
don't.
NFL.
We got Peyton.
Jim McMahon.
Wow.
You should know this, Zach.
Oh, my gosh. I forgot he went to the Packers. That's
and then,
terrible.
Just to kind of flex on us, they threw 2 more obscure quarterbacks that we never would have thought of.
Yeah,
just to kind of rub it in our face.
I don't know who Jeff Rutledge is. I don't know who Matt Kavanaugh is. So those guys weren't top 10 picks.
Mm-hmm.
But the top 10 guy, okay, I didn't know Jim McMahon was a top 10 pick. Earl Morrall, I've heard his name. Colts and Dolphins. Wow. All right, you know what? I think to the standard viewer, we probably still did about as good as we could get.
Yeah, hopefully the viewers out there were stumped. Hopefully the listeners were stumped. This was a tough one.
It was a tough one.
For the January 31st trivia, but
yeah,
we're on to February. We're on to next week already.
New month, new me, you know? But yeah, I mean, going into February, we got the biggest game of the year coming up. Yep. We got the Super Bowl 58.
Yeah.
If you didn't know those Roman numerals, that's what that is. But before we talk about the Super Bowl, I'm sorry, man, but we got to go over what happened last weekend.
Yeah, no, it's all good, man.
So let's start off easy. Chiefs, Ravens, 17-10. Close game on paper. Feels like the Chiefs kind of dominated, or at least the Ravens kept coming up short.
Yeah.
But I mean, I don't know. I got a few takeaways off the top of my head here. I mean, number one, I don't think any single person after week 1, well, maybe a single person, but I don't think the majority of NFL fans thought the Chiefs were going to be in the Super Bowl this year.
Yeah.
I mean, when Lions beat them week 1,
I thought no way. I mean, I knew we were knocking off the defending Super Bowl champs, but they were not the same team at all. Offensive line was a little bit depleted. Yeah, really nobody gave them a chance. They were pretty inconsistent throughout the season, but they're back, and people are pretty pissed.
Yeah. I mean, I guess it's not the craziest thing given Mahomes' track record. You know, this is the 6th AFC championship he's made in a row.
In a row, yeah.
Yeah, and so he's been to 4 or 5 of those Super Bowls.
Yeah, these are Brady numbers that he's putting up.
He is putting up insane numbers. And you know, he's not the GOAT yet. I saw some people saying he's already the GOAT. Guy who played 20 years in the league and won a Super Bowl with 2 teams and played till the age of 40, and he has all of the passing records. I don't think you can declare Mahomes the GOAT.
Yeah.
But of the modern era, I mean, or maybe not the modern, post 2020s. I mean,
yeah. I mean, they did have a little bit of an overlap. Patrick Mahomes 0-2 against Tom Brady in the playoffs in his career, so that'll never change. But yeah, Mahomes he's on track. I think he might be even better than on track, especially if they win this game against the Niners. But yeah, you got to give credit to him. Started off real hot in that AFC Championship game. He was 10 for 10. Mm-hmm. I think until a drop, right? I think there was a drop on his 11th pass. 2 straight touchdown drives. Him and Kelsey, the connection was insane. That first touchdown on the back shoulder throw. Scored on Kyle Hamilton. That was pretty impressive.
Which, you know, Travis Kelce has lost a step this year, but he shows up when we need him to show up. And that's really all that matters.
Yeah.
So.
And it was like you've seen him do it 1,000 times before. Every big third down, every play they needed, Mahomes was looking for Kelce. On that first drive, they had the 4th and 3 conversion to him that then led to the touchdown on Kyle Hamilton. Next drive, just vintage Mahomes and Kelce. You saw that play where he was scrambling around for like 8 seconds. Got his legs knocked out from under him, still made the throw. Mm-hmm. Put it where only Kelce could get it. He made a diving catch. Pretty impressive stuff.
Impressive how he didn't obliterate both of his ACLs on that throw as well.
Yeah. Unreal. That's another thing about Mahomes, like tough guy.
Yeah.
Super tough guy. But yeah, put that ball where only Travis Kelce could catch it. That led to their second touchdown of their game, but their only touchdown of the game. Ravens defense was able to slow him down in the second half, but Ravens offense, I guess must have been the problem.
Yeah, and, you know, I think that overall, could you blame the loss on Lamar? Maybe. He had a really bad turnover at the end there, and he was missing some deep balls, but the game plan just wasn't the same. I mean, they totally abandoned the running game.
Yeah.
You know, even if you exclude Lamar running, they didn't hand the ball off, and when you're down, one or two scores, like you still have time to get the running game going. Yeah. They were talking about McCaffrey in the Lions game, saying, this team keeps running the ball because, he'll get you 4 yards and 4 yards, 4 yards. But one of them, he's going to rip off a 50-yarder.
Yep.
And I think the Ravens' offense was so explosive all year, whether it was Gus Edwards, Justice Hill, all these guys that you don't think of them as these home run threats, but you still got to stick to the game plan. And we saw that in the last couple playoff games that the Ravens were in, where they abandoned the run and they had Lamar be throwing 50 passes a game. And I understand when you're down big, but I think they could have done a little something to get the pressure off his shoulders.
Yeah, I mean, we could talk about the instance, the thing that happened with Zay Flowers. You had the taunting, and then a couple plays later, the ball gets knocked out at the goal line. Tough break for Ravens fans. I mean, that could have swung momentum in a huge way, especially playing at home. Joe Burrow had a tweet during the game. He said, "Let the guys taunt." What's your thoughts on that? I mean, you think eliminate the taunting rule? I'm kind of for it.
I think that if you can hold on defense and prevent a pass from being completed, and that's 5 to 10 yards, I don't see why taunting should be 15. If roughing the passer, if you brutally attack a quarterback with helmet-to-helmet contact, and that gets you 15 yards, I don't see how in Zay Flowers' case, in the biggest game of his life so far, he does a little extra, that should be a 15-yard penalty. I think that, there's definitely an element of sportsmanship that, you have to limit some of the taunting to an extent. So I don't know if I'd wipe out the taunting penalty, but I would say make it 5 yards, make it automatic first down, whatever.
Yeah.
15-yard penalty is terrible because that really changed the outcome of that drive.
Yeah, the penalty, it cramped a huge gain for the Ravens, and it was much needed in that moment. They had the fumble at the goal line, heck of a play by L'Jarius Sneed.
Yeah.
There's also been some discourse about the touchback rule online, but I mean, I got to say, it's a necessary rule. The only objective in football is to cross the goal line, score points. There needs to be some sort of risk trying to cross the plane. You think back to the old days of football. I learned this the other day. The reason they call it a touchdown is because you used to actually have to touch the ball and hold it to the ground.
Really?
For them to score a touchdown. Yeah, I learned that the other day. So that's pretty crazy, isn't it?
Probably back in the era where the goalpost is in 2 yards deep, right in the middle of the field.
Yeah. And I mean, if you let guys fumble out of the end zone, then what? Where would they get the ball? Their own or the opposing team's 20? Would you just have them start there? I don't know. I think touchback rule has to stay, and I don't know. That it allows for L'Jarius Sneed to make a game-changing play right there, and kind of make up for the pass that he let up to Zay Flowers only 3 plays earlier. So, I mean, personally, I love the rule. I don't want to see it go.
I could not agree more in terms of what you said about the game-changing play by Sneed. I mean, that was the stop they needed because Zay Flowers taunting, that's on him, right?
Yeah,
you're rookie, you gotta keep it in your pants a little bit. Don't get too excited. You made a great play, had a great touchdown. Gotta keep cool. But with Sneed, I mean, that fumble. Zay Flowers reaching out, he's trying to make a play. That was just a great forced fumble by Stein, and that was exactly what they needed to make a stop there. We saw that multiple times. The Chiefs had the stop inside the red zone. Let's talk about that throw into triple coverage from Lamar. I mean, Lamar Jackson, his question every year has been, can he win in the playoffs? This season, or this postseason, he looked great. He dotted up the Texans, and for most of this Chiefs game, he was looking pretty good, but towards the end of the second half, he started missing on the deep ball a lot of sideline shots. He overthrew his guys, and then the throw into triple coverage was just, you're in your 6th year in the league. You cannot make that throw.
Yeah. He knew it right away. I think he spiked his helmet on the ground. It was pretty obvious.
Yeah.
I don't know. Me and probably the rest of America was rooting for the Ravens. That one sucked. Some people needed Isaiah Likely to get one more catch for certain reasons, so that sucked. But thrown into triple coverage, you just don't do that. And as a viewer, obviously we're not on the field playing, but it looked pretty obvious to me, hey, don't throw that football. And it was a 2nd and 10, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was something like that. It was 2nd and 10. They were only down by 10 points, right? So you can take a field goal. You're in the red zone. You have the best kicker in the NFL. And on top of that, could it have been pass interference by the defenders guarding Likely?
Yeah.
Yes, but still, when there's so much commotion, you at least got to get him a better ball so he has a chance at that. If you throw that to the back of the end zone towards the crossbar, it's maybe an incompletion, right? That's one of those balls you cannot underthrow as a quarterback. You have to give your guy a chance, and if it's too long, okay, you don't lose anything. But I mean, that was It was poor accuracy and a poor decision.
And even if there was a little bit contact, unlikely. I don't think that the refs should reward Lamar for throwing into triple coverage in the end zone like that. I think let him play in that scenario.
Agreed. Totally agree. So we talked about the Chiefs-Ravens a lot. We are going to take a quick break here, and then we will talk about the dreaded 49ers-Lions game.
Oh.
The Society of Women Engineers exists to support and empower women engineers in their academic and professional careers and aspirations. They host a variety of events including professional development, volunteering, fundraising, social, and K-12 outreach. Anyone is welcome at meetings. Email secretary.swe.ui@gmail.com to learn about upcoming events.
All right. Welcome back. So 49ers, Lions. This week, you had the Lions coming to the game picks. We both had the Ravens. Unfortunately, we both took an L on that in terms of our game picks.
Yep.
You had the Lions. I had the Niners. I didn't want the Niners to win. But this is kind of what I thought was going to happen. Tell me your honest thoughts. We were watching that game together on the couch.
Yep.
What were you thinking inside that head, man?
I mean, you saw it, man. I went from on top of the world after the J-Mo touchdown to just 6 feet deep so fast. Like, it felt like that. You saw me. I was sitting there with my hands in my head for, seems like the entire third and fourth quarter.
Yeah.
Like, just straight. My friends were screaming in my face. Tough game to watch. But honestly, man, I'm not going to be a negative guy about it. I think there's a lot of things to be happy about if you're a Lions fan. You know, had the J-Mo touchdown on the reverse early in the game. He went 42 yards to score. You love seeing him get used like that. Also scored late in the fourth quarter on that slant route in the back of the end zone. Love to see J-Mo get involved. It was kind of a meaningless score, and he did look like a little bit shaken up after. But, like, you know, you love to see the production from him. We'll just rock with it. Offensive line looked like the best in the league, honestly. Lions were running all over that 49ers defense in the first half. Montgomery was just running through people, and the O-line was picking up their blocks and getting to the second level pretty quickly. You love to see that. Jahmyr Gibbs' touchdown was beautiful. He evaded like 5 guys, evaded Fred Warner, Chase Young, and then pretty much just walked into the end zone. We ended with almost 200 rushing yards. We just could not move the ball in the second half. Second half drives, we went turnover on down with the Reynolds drop. And then right after that went the Ayuk catch, the ridiculous catch off the face mask of Kendall Vildor into the hands of Brandon Ayuk on a 2nd and 10, really deep ball. That one hurts. First possession of our next, or first play of our next possession, Jahmyr Gibbs fumble. Apparently he lined up wrong or something. That one hurt a lot.
He took the handoff wrong or something like that.
Something like that. He got lit up too, dropped the ball, and then we went punt right after a Josh Reynolds wide open drop. This drop was probably worse than the one on 4th down. Then we went punt. Very next possession for us, turnover on downs where Goff kind of missed St. Brown. And I think that second turnover on downs, you really got to kick the field goal there to tie the game. Dan Campbell's been getting a lot of criticism for that, but obviously Reynolds had a few big drops.
Yeah.
And I think on the season, in 4th and 3 or less, the Lions were like 17 for 20 or something like that. Yeah. So I love our odds. And I don't want to hear anybody say anything about Dan Campbell. Like, I don't want to hear people say, like, the meme that I've been seeing over and over again, where if he had 2 kings, he would hit. Like, bro, man, shut up. I mean, just don't get me started.
Yeah.
I kind of want to own up to something. I said that we needed to let Brock Purdy beat us. He did beat us.
Man.
Just scrambling all over the field. He looked pretty good. The throw to Juszczyk that he had on the sidelines. I kind of regret saying that. We had that discussion last week about whether or not he's a game manager. I don't know. Did he change your mind this weekend?
Well, you know, it's funny. I did write an article about takeaways from the weekend, and one of the things, there were a lot to take away from the Lions and the 49ers game. And one of the things that I did touch on. Yeah, go check that out,
by the way. Zach Stein on Substack.
Indeed. There's going to be a link on our Instagram. Gavin's going to start posting some articles as well. So,
Lions recap coming probably at the end of this week.
Yeah, stay tuned. We got a lot of good written content that's coming out. But, I would definitely go recommend checking out that article. I touched a little bit on Brock, but, yeah, he got lucky on some plays. The Ayuk touchdown, that was pretty lucky. It should have been a pick.
Yeah.
At least
I think they were down
Ayuk
to the 2, and then he hit him on the touchdown, yeah.
Right, or the long play that turned into a touchdown.
Yeah.
Bounced off, Bears legend Kendall Vildor's mask. But, yeah, I would say, despite a little bit of luck there, yeah, he's got a good team around him, but I don't know, man. The narrative for the 49ers this whole year was that they cannot come from behind and win because almost all of their losses, when they got down early, they weren't able to come back. The Ravens game, there were a couple other games earlier in the season. I'm trying to think off the top of my head, who did they lost to? I know they lost a close one to the Browns. They were down early a little bit on that. But in these playoff games, so far with the Packers and now with the Lions, Brock has shown the ability to get back in the game. He does whatever he needs to do to get back in. He had the bad pick in the Lions game, but he bounced back. He was making plays with his legs, which we haven't seen from him all season. And so I think when you talk about a game manager, the point of a game manager is that he's not going to change the game. If he does everything right, you'll win. And if he makes some mistakes, you lose. In this case, he made mistakes, and he was able to get back in there. Now, the other thing I'll say is the jury is still out, right? He's about to play in a Super Bowl. That's going to be a big game for him.
Yeah, big test.
But he's also in his second year. And given the stats he put up this season, no matter how good his team was, am I going to say that he's a game changer? Maybe not yet. But I think he has earned enough respect to not be labeled as a game manager because he did whatever he could to get his team back in the game this week and last week too.
Yeah, I agree. It was crushing. It was truly crushing for me as a Lions fan. Some of the plays that he would make on like a second and long, he would scramble out, get the first down. Like those are game-changing plays, and those hurt.
But that's what you wanted, right? You said, have Brock beat you, right?
Yeah.
And that's not, I wouldn't say that's a bad take on your part because that's exactly what that's the only way you could have beaten this team because you got a really high-powered offense, but the Lions defense just doesn't stack up to the Niners.
Yeah.
And so, it happened. But I will say this, Ben Johnson staying in Detroit.
Ben Johnson's back.
You got some picks.
He's back already. I mean, Ben Johnson, like bringing him back as offensive coordinator, that's about as good as signing like a coveted free agent.
Yeah.
Like we're already winning free agency
Huge.
at this point. It's big. Got most of our O-line coming back next year. St. Brown, J-Mo. We'll be retaining, obviously, the best running back duo in the NFL. I don't even really think that's a debate at this point.
Right.
Really just need to make some moves defensively, probably sign a pass rusher in a corner, make some moves in the draft. I trust Brad Holmes, and I think we're still set up to be successful next year, honestly.
Yeah, and go trade up for a receiver in the draft even. Josh Reynolds is going to be a free agent. I think after this game, you could probably let him walk a little bit unless you want to get him on a cheap deal.
Yeah.
Get another guy to go with Amon-Ra, and you are already good on offense, so you could probably get a free agent signing for that. It's just the defense needs some more picks, or you need some more playmakers. I think Aaron Glenn, there's one spot left with Washington. Aaron Glenn could be a possibility for that.
Yeah.
But, if he stays too, maybe y'all want to run it back. We'll talk about Washington's coaching spot in a second. Last thing I want to say on the Lions is, I know we talked about Dan Campbell earlier. Here's the thing. I don't think you can blame him for necessarily going for it because one of the times it was just an open drop, right? And so it worked. He made the right call.
Yep. The
Jared Goff throw, who knows what happened there. But with Dan Campbell, you're going to live and you're going to die by the aggressiveness. That is what makes your team, your identity is an aggressive team.
Yeah.
So he is staying true to his identity of going for it on fourth down. You can't put that on him. But me personally, I think he's going to need to find more of a balance in those bigger moments. As bad as that call was in that Cowboys game when we saw the whole eligibility crisis happen, it did work, but it was a penalty. So regardless if it was his fault or not, I mean, it's still the risk you take of something catastrophic going wrong. And so for that reason, I think the Lions, you got Ben Johnson back. You could run it back. You could just add more and do this again. But the thing that needs to change is just one or two times here and there. Take the points, punt it.
I agree, yeah, and we did that in the first half, up 21-7, I believe. Drove down the field, got stopped at about like the 6-yard line, kicked the field goal, took the lead going into half. Just maybe do that, maybe tie up the game. I don't know, because I mean they go down and score, take a 10-point lead on us in the fourth quarter, and that's pretty much game.
Yeah.
Not really much you could do from there. Now, if you were to tie it, they go down and score, you can go down and score and maybe go for two again. I feel like we would do that, try to win the game right there. But, man, I mean, it hurt.
It hurt a lot. I'm sure, man. But, hey, hell of a run. And, now that you got Johnson back, like I said, you're not out of it going into next year.
Oh, definitely not.
Well, we talked about Ben Johnson potentially being the best offensive head coaching hire, if not the best head coaching hire potentially for this offseason. But now he's staying in Detroit. Let's talk about some other big names. Last week, an hour after we recorded, the Chargers signed Harbaugh.
This was unfortunate.
Yeah, and they also signed the Ravens director of player personnel, Joe Horitz, as their GM. So they've got their office filled out. You got thoughts on Harbaugh becoming the head coach?
Yeah, I mean, good for him. I think he's one of the highest paid coaches now in the NFL. I'm reading $16 million a year. I think that's about what Ben Johnson was asking for. I guess people don't really trust Ben, or I guess they weren't really willing to give Ben Johnson that money. But Harbaugh's a different story. I think the quarterback seems to be the main factor in taking this position. I think he loves Justin Herbert. They also got some defensive star power: Derwin James, Joey Bosa, Khalil Mack. He's still on that roster. So I think, Harbaugh, what you saw with him at Michigan this year was establishing the run game. Didn't really see a whole lot from J.J. McCarthy, but that's because, you didn't really need to. That run game was so powerful. So I think if the Chargers are able to establish a consistent run game, kind of like Detroit or San Francisco, they'll be a real top 5 force in the AFC next year.
Yeah, and, I think with Eckler having a down year, not really fitting that scheme, I mean, unless Harbaugh changes things up, but I think of, Kaepernick and, Frank Gore. I think he had a Carlos Hyde at that point as well.
Yeah.
I mean, Blake Corum coming out of the draft, could pretty much mock that to Chargers, but
yep.
I would like to go out. I would like to see them go out and get Derrick Henry in free agency or Josh Jacobs. The only problem with that is that right now the Chargers are, I kid you not, negative $50 million in cap space. So you are likely going to lose Khalil Mack, either Keenan Allen or Mike Williams or both, and maybe even Joey Bosa. I think he's looking at Derwin James and he's like, you are going to be a stud. We're going to keep you. But everyone else, I mean, it's going to be tough to find money.
You think he's looking at Joey Bosa and he's like, get this Ohio State kid out of here? You think that's what he's thinking?
Yeah, that's a good point. Maybe.
Because there's a certain team over in Detroit, just across that Ohio border, that kind of needs a pass rusher.
Ooh.
That's all I'm saying.
Interesting. I actually love that move. I love that. But is he going to want to play alongside Aiden Hutchinson from Michigan?
Wow, damn. I mean, they're like the same player, aren't they? They're just rivals in college, I guess.
Pretty
I don't know.
similar.
I think once you get to the league, winning is all that matters, and I think those two would be committed to winning. But I think Jim Harbaugh probably carries a little bit of a grudge with that Michigan-Ohio State thing, considering he just went 3-0, right?
Yeah.
Or won his last 3 games against Ohio State, so that's big.
It's fair to say that.
The hate is real there. It's real. It's enough, I think, for him to just be like, you guys are trading this Ohio State kid.
Yeah. Anybody else on the team? Ohio State, enter the transfer portal. Get on the trade block. You're gone. Yeah.
They're gone.
It's going to be really interesting to see what he does there. So a lot of stuff still to come on that. Got some interesting cap decisions.
I mean, they still got the young guy, Rashawn Slater, at left tackle. He was a Pro Bowler in his rookie year. Yep. Like, that's awesome to see. I think they had Corey Linsley last year. I'm hearing that he's probably going to retire.
It's possible, yeah. He's definitely on the older side.
Yeah, I think he's about 32, 33. So, I mean, if they're in win-now mode, they're going to have to make some moves on the offensive line.
Absolutely. They had the first-round pick, Zion Johnson. He has shown a lot of promise. He's a big, powerful guard. If you put him and Slater together, that's going to be awesome. But, yeah, I agree. You need another tackle. Herbert got injured this year. Got to protect him. Harbaugh, offensive coach, but knows defense well. I think he's going to build up that offensive line and then get some more weapons. Pick 5, maybe a Brock Bowers, electric tight end, get him in there. Which, by the way, lot of draft coverage coming soon. We're trying to make it through the Super Bowl. We may talk about it a little bit later today if time permits, but stay tuned. We're going to have lots of mock drafts, prospect rankings, all that good stuff because it's almost draft season. But let's real quick go over another hire. So another Ravens related character, Mike MacDonald, now the youngest NFL head coach at age 36. He is now the Seahawks head coach after being the D coordinator for the Ravens and a lot of other Ravens positions over the years.
Wow.
He was with Georgia for a little bit, and then he has been with the Ravens since 2014. Besides the 1 year where he went to Michigan as the D coordinator 2 years ago. So this is a young, upcoming guy. The Ravens have had him in the building for a while, and now he's getting his his first head coaching gig with the Seahawks. They go from Pete Carroll now to Mike MacDonald as the D coordinator.
Yeah, man, good for them. I'm glad they found their guy, defensive guy. It's kind of different from Pete Carroll, isn't it? Would you classify Pete Carroll as like an offensive guy, or would you just classify him as like a motivator?
I mean, he is a motivator for sure, but he does. I mean, I would say if you had to pick between offense or defense, I mean, he Legion of Boom, crazy, like never gonna replicate that ever again. But yeah, they got their new guy here. I think that was a good hire, which leaves one spot remaining, which is Washington. Who do you think that they might be looking at without Ben Johnson?
It could be Aaron Glenn. I heard a statement, or I think Schefter had a tweet the other day that, Washington was flying into Detroit to meet with Ben Johnson and Aaron Glenn. And as they were getting into Detroit, Ben Johnson announced that he's going to be staying with the team. And I guess Schefter tweeted out, that doesn't change any minds in Washington. They're still going to be in Detroit because they value Aaron Glenn. They really want to interview him. So I just thought that was interesting that Schefter would put that out there. But yeah, the other options out there, you got Vrabel, you got Belichick. I could see either of those guys going in there and kind of turning that franchise around. Ben Johnson's big thing was he wants a shot at winning a Super Bowl, and so he did not go to Washington. So I think if you're going to Washington, if you're Vrabel or Belichick, it's kind of going to be a bit of a rebuilding process. Kind of seems like you got your quarterback in Sam Howell. You got some great skill position players, some talent on that defensive line. But yeah, it's going to be a little bit of a process. I don't think you're going to Washington and winning immediately.
Yeah, I mean, you got some capital to work with. You just traded away Sweat, Chase Young, and you have the number 2 pick, obviously. So if you're bringing an offensive guy, really, or a defensive guy, you could be looking at Drake Maye or Jaden Daniels, something like that.
Yeah.
But, if you're going just for, instead of a young offensive mind, like an established defensive coach, there's a lot. I mean, you got Aaron Glenn, Mike Vrabel will be interesting.
Yeah.
Belichick may be circulating around. You never know. But I think that's going to be an interesting spot. Head coaching jobs almost filled. We can talk about the draft coming up soon, talk about free agency coming up soon, but thing that's glaring right in between, Super Bowl 58. Chiefs versus 49ers.
Yeah.
Let's talk about it. We got 2 weeks. Do you have a favorite in this matchup? Like, do you know who's going to win this? Do you have somebody that you want to win?
I mean, I got some sort of ideas. I think right now they got the Chiefs as underdogs.
Really?
Obviously take Mahomes as an underdog every time, but I don't know. We did lose to the Niners, so I would love to say that, we should have beat the best team in the NFL. I would love to say that. So I'll probably root for the 49ers, even though it'll kind of kill me. And then Mahomes will probably beat them on like a fourth quarter drive, and that'll just hurt. So, yeah, I mean, honestly, once your team loses in the NFC Championship, you lose interest, and you just get angry watching the Super Bowl. But it's the Super Bowl. It's the last game of the season. Obviously, I'm going to watch it. Obviously, I'm excited. Who we got at halftime? Who's our halftime performer?
I think it's Usher. So
damn, I was gonna get excited about that, but
I mean, come on, you go to the club 2000, 2010's bangers. Like he had a legendary run. Then he fell off the face of the earth. But
yeah,
I mean, if you're throwing Usher, a Pitbull, or like Kesha at any party bus, any club,
yeah, I'll catch a vibe.
Yeah, people are gonna go crazy.
Okay.
So,
and it's in Vegas too, right?
Yeah.
That fits.
Big stage.
That fits.
You can bet on like who he's going to bring out at halftime. You
can bet on that.
Oh, yeah. You can bet on that. You bet on the color of the Gatorade, coin toss,
Don't tell me, man. I've been betting way too much.
I mean, you could throw like, $5 on like, I don't know, Andrew Garfield to walk out on the stage. And
that's
if he
crazy.
Comes out, then no, I'm not saying you actually can. I'm saying maybe you could throw $5 out there, and if he actually comes on stage, then you win $1 trillion. I have no idea.
Oh my God.
But yeah, I mean, I'm curious to know what options they have there as for surprise.
If anybody out there has any locks on who's gonna guest appear during the Super Bowl halftime show, DM me.
Yeah. Any leads, any rumors, let us know. But yeah, I'm shocked that the Chiefs are underdogs, especially after just this entire season. I mean, Mahomes took a group of, for the most part, bums on offense, besides Kelsey and their O-line, and turned them into a Super Bowl contender. So, as I said earlier, I think it is extremely unwise to bet against Mahomes. With that being said, I think this is going to be the toughest task because Shanahan has seen this Chiefs offense before. The offense for the 49ers is pretty similar. but it's just even more deadly than when they had Jimmy Garoppolo. I mean, after all, this is a Super Bowl rematch from just 4 years ago. And I would say right now, Niners, top to bottom, best roster in the NFL.
Definitely.
The key to the game, in my opinion, for the Niners is going to be can Brock Purdy continue to be efficient through the air? Because McCaffrey, he's going to get his carries. He's going to get his touchdowns. I'm not worried about that. The defense or the Chiefs' defense is going to definitely cause as many problems as they can. They were able to neutralize Lamar. But it's going to be tough to stop McCaffrey, especially when you have to drop back all the time just from the sheer threat of Brandon Ayuk and then George Kittle and Deebo Samuel, whether he's out wide or he's in the backfield. You got to have two guys on him at all times.
Yeah.
So.
I would love to see, I say this for like literally every game, I would love to see a shootout.
Yeah.
Me personally, I mean, you saw the way the Lions ran the ball against the 49ers defense, and then you saw the way Pacheco ran the ball against the Baltimore Ravens. I don't know if there's anyone in the league that runs like with more determination than Isaiah Pacheco. Chiefs kind of rebuilt that offensive line over the past 2 off seasons. They kind of got rid of a lot of their skill position guys, whether that be Juju Smith-Schuster, Tyreek Hill. Got rid of those guys, rebuilt that offensive line. So I think if they're able to run the ball pretty consistently on San Fran, I don't see why not. I don't see why not. Chiefs are -2 right now on ESPN Bet. Not a bad line.
Yeah, not bad at all. I agree. Love to see the shootout. And yeah, the one weak spot for San Fran it is that running game because Lions ran all over them, Packers ran all over them. Chase Young was such a talented guy. You talked about him last week or the week before about since his rookie year, his defensive rookie of the year season. Hasn't really, like, the effort hasn't been there, like the production hasn't been there. We saw in that Lions game, I mean, he was not really making attempts to tackle. So if the Chiefs can get the running game going, I mean, yeah, that's going to be huge for them.
Most definitely.
Yeah.
Chase Young, overrated. You heard it here first.
There you go. So yeah, key for the Chiefs, run the ball. For the 49ers, continue to get production in the passing game. Do you have a score prediction? Or at the very least, a winner?
I think I'm going to go Chiefs. You never bet against Mahomes, especially in the Super Bowl. I'm going to go Chiefs 31, Niners 27.
Okay.
Yeah.
So similar to a couple years ago, except for the Niners put more points on the board.
Yeah. Like I said, shootout, like that's fun.
Yeah.
It is fun.
I think I'm going to agree with your Chiefs pick. Of course, the one time I bet on him, then, he's going to lose or something. I don't know. Maybe not. He's a pretty safe bet, I would say. I mean, truly, I don't think the NFL gods would allow the only people to beat Mahomes in the postseason being like Tom Brady and Brock Purdy. Like Joe Burrow, yeah, it's valid, right? If the only people that beat Mahomes in a Super Bowl is Tom Brady and Brock Purdy, it doesn't seem right. As much as we've gassed up Purdy this episode, that just doesn't seem fair.
It doesn't seem right. I agree with you there.
I'm going to take the Chiefs as well. I'm going to say a 27-21. It should be a close game. Maybe the Niners get an opportunity to score on the last drive. Who knows? But Chiefs are really good at just getting possession and knowing how to work the clock.
Yeah.
And so I think that's going to be key to them. Now, we talked about some draft coverage earlier. You got 6 players who you like a lot?
Yeah, 5, 6, 7.
5, 6, 7, 24. Like Give us your top 24 players, right? No, I'm kidding.
Okay.
But yeah, talk about the draft a little bit. I'm curious to know what you think.
Well, first off, I kind of want to ask you, who's your number one pick? It's the Bears, right? You guys got the number one pick. Who do you think you're taking, or what do you think is going to happen with that pick?
I have a different perspective off what I want to happen and what I think should happen. Mm-hmm. But more and more each day, the want becomes more of the think.
Wait, so what you want to happen is not what should happen? Is that what you're saying?
Right now, no. But I think come draft time, it will be. Because what I would want, for the sake of me not having to buy another quarterback jersey, I would love if the Bears can make Justin Fields work. We didn't talk about this at all today, but the coaching staff they have assembled is incredible. Mm-hmm. Shane Waldron, phenomenal hire from the Seahawks OC. He was a top head coaching candidate. Shocked that they were able to hire him because he could have been an offensive or a head coach anywhere else. Then you go out and get Eric Washington, who was the assistant head coach and D-line coach with the Buffalo Bills. Matt Eberflus, if there's any insecurity around his job or some doubt around his job, you bring in this guy who also has head coaching experience or assistant head coach experience. And then just yesterday, we hired Panthers offensive coordinator Thomas Brown to coordinate our passing game. And while you may think, okay, the Panthers, they were terrible this year.
That's exactly what I was thinking.
Thomas Brown was voted the number 2 best offensive coordinator in the entire NFL by the players and coaches.
Wow.
Yeah.
Were they like trolling?
Who knows? I mean, that's like, Thanasis getting 3 all-star votes.
Yeah.
Probably just the 3 brothers, but maybe Thomas Brown has some siblings in the NFL.
That's crazy.
But no, I mean, but he was voted that because of the character, and also he's still a young guy. He was with McVay. Him and Shane Waldron were with McVay, and so bringing him in, I think that's a phenomenal coaching staff. Now, to me, I don't know how you assemble all of that talent there without being like, all right, it's because we're going to take a generational quarterback prospect. But with that skill level at coaching, maybe that's enough for you to kind of resurrect Fields' career again. Not that it's dead, but there's a lot of question marks there. So long story short, what I want to happen, I would love if the Bears made Fields work. They trade down, they get like Marvin Harrison or Malik Neighbors. What I think will happen, I think the Bears are going to take Caleb Williams at 1.
Okay.
Just makes sense. Financially, you get just a few more years contract flexibility, and you get this guy who has gotten Mahomes comparisons for the last 2 or 3 years.
Yeah.
So that's my take.
All right, man. Well, so here's what I would do, right? If I'm the Bears, if I want to do if you want to keep Fields, I'm kind of with you there. I love Justin Fields. Then what I would do is probably trade back 1 or 2 picks and take Marvin Harrison Jr. Best receiver in the draft, obviously. Mel Kiper called him Calvin Johnson, the next Calvin. He actually called him Calvin Johnson Jr. Calvin Johnson.
Wow.
Calvin Johnson is Calvin Johnson Jr. For those that didn't know that. But yeah, Marvin Harrison Jr., I could kind of see the comparisons. He's 6'4". I'm hearing that he runs a 4.3. It's alleged, but apparently he runs a 4.3.
I don't know.
Honestly, if he's a 4.4 guy, I don't really think it would make too much of a difference.
Oh, yeah.
For his size, he's extremely agile and elusive, quick on his feet. He's light on his feet, long arms, strong hands. I think he's really the full package as a wide receiver. Maserati Marv, he's only 2 days younger than me. August 11th, 2002. So yeah, Leo gang.
What are you doing? Get out there, suit up, man.
Yeah. I should be in the league right now. I'm just a step behind Maserati Marv. But yeah, I mean, would you mind that if you guys traded back to 2 or 3 and took Marvin Harrison Jr.?
Not at all. In fact, if we do trade down, I'll be upset if we don't get him. The only way I'd be happy is if in that trade we get another receiver. Like, let's say Washington wants to move up and they give us Terry McLaurin.
Yeah.
Okay, that's fine. But I would still prefer to draft a guy because, you have DJ under a big contract, so you get a younger guy opposite. In case anything happens with DJ, you still got the young guy under control. Mm-hmm. Let me ask you something. Do you think he's the best player in the draft, Marvin Harrison?
So no, that's actually, I was going to get to that. My number 1 player on my big board is Drake Maye.
Oh!
Yeah, call me crazy. Call me crazy. I think the Bears should draft Drake Maye with the number 1 overall pick. I'm just saying, man. I'm enamored by the film. Have you watched any of his film?
I have. North Carolina.
Yeah, he makes some ridiculous plays. I kind of think he's kind of like a Josh Allen type player, in my opinion, but with a better arm. Super athletic. He'll scramble and he'll fight for extra yards in like a Josh Allen type way. He maneuvers in and out of the pocket with great rhythm. Makes some ridiculous off-platform throws, can throw it on the run, throw it under pressure. Statistically, I know you get worried about the North Carolina thing with Trubisky. Statistically, he was a lot better than Trubisky and Howell. Just a special prospect. And if you want to talk about Mahomes comparisons, watch Drake Maye's highlights against Pitt. He threw a left-handed touchdown. So that's all you need to see.
Yeah, that was pretty amazing. That's pretty amazing.
That's all you need to see. So that's my number 1 guy.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, let me tell you, better arm than Josh Allen is you got some shooters pointed at you for sure for saying that.
Well,
but
he has a similar arm to Josh Allen. He's more accurate than Josh Allen was in his first couple years in the NFL.
I agree with that.
And I meant more Josh Allen and kind of the way he maneuvers the pocket, the way he scrambles. I wouldn't say he's like a reckless runner, but he's aggressive. He has pretty good like ball carrying vision. Reads the field pretty well. Super athletic, and I think he's better than Caleb Williams.
Wow, you heard it here first.
Yep.
My God, that was an absolute bomb.
Call me crazy.
Yeah, you might be. We'll see.
Yeah,
I mean,
I hope this comes back to haunt me, man.
Time will tell. I mean, there's been a lot of notorious number 1 overall pick busts. You got Jamarcus Russell, like some Baker Mayfield has been pretty good, but hasn't been lived up to the hype. So Caleb, I don't know. You really don't know how an NFL player is going to be until they come out of the draft.
He's undersized, too. I mean, Drake May's bigger.
I'll give you your Drake Maye take. I will say Drake Maye, exactly what you said about like the size. He's like the prototypical build.
Yeah.
Like that is, he doesn't have the same numbers. People are going to point out the numbers at North Carolina. Yeah. But at the same time, way less talent. Mm-hmm. And, the one thing I'll say about Maye, sometimes in terms of accuracy, he misses a few throws here and there. All quarterbacks do, obviously. But some teams may be like, okay, well, Trubisky, he was pretty good. He was fairly accurate, but maybe some.
And in the pocket, Drake Maye's hitting throws in the pocket 20, 30, 40 yards downfield.
Yeah.
Like, it's not like he's, I don't know. I was going to say, it's not like he's only like a playmaker guy. No, he could be a pocket passer.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. He's got pretty good feet and paws and in the pocket. And he's a prototypical build. I think the question, I still think Caleb is going to go number one, but if you are debating between either him or like Jaden Daniels, the question is going to be, do you go for like the upside with Jaden Daniels, or do you go for the prototype build of Drake Maye? So that's what I think on that.
I agree with you there, man. But then I will admit my number 2 prospect was Caleb Williams.
Okay, so let's for the sake of time, you talked about Drake Maye a little bit, but let me just hear the guys that you have in your top 5, 6, whatever, and then we'll talk about a few of them.
Yeah, so we're gonna go Drake Maye at 1. We're gonna go Caleb Williams at 2. I do think he's a lot similar to Drake Maye. Risk taker, creates plays, kind of improvising, off the cuff plays, scrambling out of the pocket. Delivers very accurate passes when thrown on the run or under pressure. But I still have him. At 2. Got Marvin Harrison at 3. 4 is Rome Odunze. I love that player. I think my player comparison to him was CeeDee Lamb, which might be a little bit of a stretch considering what he did this year, but they got a lot of similarities. My number 5 is Jared Verse, which I've been seeing him getting drafted like 15, 16 in mock drafts. I don't know, man. If you're passing on this guy, I think it's a mistake. I think he has Micah Parsons type explosiveness off the line of scrimmage. Definitely lacking some tools like a consistent swim move or consistent spin move. Definitely behind Parsons, but I think he's similar to him in his explosiveness off the line of scrimmage. 6 and 7, I was kind of between Malik Neighbors and Brock Bowers. Also, just notice like there's not like a tackle in this at all, or like a guard. Like I'm looking at skill position guy. There's no like corners or safeties on here. Not that they usually get drafted top 5, but who's that?
No Coop?
Nope. Coop probably going 18, 19, 20. Yeah.
I mean, the combine, he's going to be one of those guys, people see that and they're like, oh my God. Mm-hmm. So who knows? But that's really interesting. I like the takes. I'm a big fan of Rome. I like Malik Neighbors too. We'll definitely have more draft content out for you guys. If we can't talk about it in the pod today, then we're going to be going over it on Instagram. So definitely follow the Instagram for more draft coverage.
Yeah.
We're going to take a break real quick. When we come back, we'll do our player flashback and finish off with the Q&A. Stay tuned.
Support for KRUI is provided by Little Village. Little Village is Iowa City's independent, community-supported news and culture publication. Little Village's event calendar connects readers with critical cultural opportunities. Through journalism, essays, and events, Little Village works to improve our community according to core values: affordability and access, economic and labor justice, environmental sustainability, racial justice, gender equity, quality healthcare, quality education, and critical culture. Little Village can be found in print editions at local businesses in Iowa City, as well as online at littlevillagemag.com.
All right, so we are back. Going to wrap up today's episode, of course, as always, with the flashback and the questions. This player flashback is a guy who, well, let me tell you, I'm a big fan. I grew up watching this guy. Legendary 2000s, 2010s Bears player, and one of the more iconic guys who probably won't be in the Hall of Fame or anything like that, but will still be remembered forever. I'm talking about Charles Tillman, number 33, the Peanut Tillman Peanut Punch.
Oh, yeah.
I
remember that vividly, man. He got Calvin Johnson on a couple of those.
Yeah, there was one game where he forced 4 fumbles in a single game because he's just him.
That's crazy.
But yeah, I love Peanut Tillman. I mean, this guy was one of the most fun corners to watch because of, like I said, just ball production. Fumbles was a huge thing. He got his interceptions. He and Tim Jennings, when Tim Jennings had the league-leading NFL interceptions, I think it was like 8 or 9 or something crazy. But they both had really good productions that year. But yeah, Peanut Tillman would just get the ball. Like, the punch was iconic. A lot of players copy that move today. Jalen Johnson's done it a few times wearing his number 33.
Yep.
But when you look at Charles Tillman on paper, I mean, one thing that stands out is he is an All-Pro one time.
Yep.
Two-time Pro Bowler. He was the Defensive Rookie of the Year, or the 5th highest vote in Defensive Rookie of the Year. But he's got so many pass deflections every single season. For his career total, he has 140. He spent 12 years with Chicago, 1 year with Carolina. His best year in Chicago was most likely at age 31 when he had the All-Pro season. 10 forced fumbles.
That's ridiculous.
10.
That's ridiculous. 44 on his career. Yeah. That's got to be a record, right?
It should be. I don't know. He should be in the Hall of Fame, but I don't know if he'll get there. I hope he does. He retired in 2015, so I believe he's more than eligible. But yeah, that year had 3 interceptions. On top of that, 3 touchdowns, not to mention, combined with 87 tackles. He was a monster. The thing that you won't get on the stat sheet is how good of a character he has.
Yeah, I'm seeing Walter Payton Man of the Year.
Yep.
What does he do off the field?
Getting into that. So you can attribute this to either a good part of the character or maybe a sus part of the character. Either way, he's serving our country as a federal agent.
That's crazy.
Now, I don't know if we can confirm that he's in the CIA, because I don't think anyone should be able to confirm that he's in the CIA.
Yeah.
But he's at least in the FBI.
We can suspect that.
Yeah, we can suspect as much. So Charles Tillman, Peanut Tillman, all 6'2", 210 pounds of him, is a federal agent now.
That's crazy.
After having a phenomenal pro football career. And in addition, he is still a big Bears fan. I hope they would consult him on decisions and bring him in as a coach. But, when you're protecting the country from terrorists and whatnot, I guess your free time kind of goes down. But yeah, I love Charles Tillman. My favorite memory of him is definitely the 4 forced fumble game. It was ridiculous. And he is a core member of my childhood Bears defense, including, Brian Urlacher, Lance Briggs, Julius Peppers. You can count Devin Hester in there. He's an icon.
The good old days.
Good old days, man. Back when we actually had some NFC championships and shot at a Super Bowl. But I don't know, man. One of the more fun players to watch. Second round pick, too. So that just goes to show you can take a guy at number 1, but you get some playmakers.
I just read something fun on a website called Kids Encyclopedia. Don't judge me or anything, but in September 2019, Tillman rode across Lake Michigan to raise awareness and nearly $200,000 for childhood cancer.
Wow.
I feel like $200,000 might not even be enough to row across Lake Michigan. That would take forever.
Yeah.
And you would just be dead at the end. Respect for that. He might be a better man off the field than he was on the field. So yeah, that's saying a lot.
Yeah, saying a lot because he was great on the field. But yeah, no, the character stands out a ton for Charles Tillman. He was a baller. Loved watching him play. Go look up some Peanut Tillman highlights.
Yeah. Fun to watch. He had 9 defensive touchdowns in his career. That's a player.
Laymaker.
Yeah.
So hope you guys enjoyed that player flashback. We're going to go ahead and wrap up the last 5 minutes with our Q&A. The first question from Eddie is, are kickoffs still needed in the NFL, or should every team just start from the 25?
Most teams start from the 25 anyway, but how many kickoff return touchdowns did we get this year?
That's a good question. Let's see.
Yeah, look that up. I know it's fun to watch guys break one for a touchdown. It really is, but yeah, guys get hurt on kickoffs. What would be a way to kind of fix that? I don't know. I think they've tried in recent years to, they used to run up to where, the line of scrimmage where the guy would kick the ball from. They used to run up to it, and now they just kind of start there, and then they start running when he kicks it. They did that for safety or something. Didn't really make any differences. How many? Do you got a number?
Yeah, I got 4 return touchdowns. One of them was the notable Andrew Beck one. He was a fullback, and he returned.
Yeah, that was dope.
A touchdown. Marvin Mims had one. Damian Pierce had one at the end of this season.
Nice. Is that not enough for you, Eddie?
Yeah, Eddie. What's the deal, man? What do you think? I think the NFL is thinking about getting rid of them just because of injuries, and that is the most dangerous play. A lot of people remember Johnny Knox getting folded in half
Oh my
the wrong
gosh.
way. That's probably the worst example of people getting hit on kickoffs. But yeah, I mean, I feel like it just wouldn't be the same. Guys like Devin Hester and Cordero Patterson, two former Bears, by the way, would just kind of be, they'd be the end of an era, I guess.
Yeah.
No kick returns. I think you can't really get rid of punt returns, in my opinion.
Definitely not.
But kick returns, if you just start at the 25, it would be interesting. But, you got to remember also a lot of guys get their first shot in the NFL on special teams.
Yeah.
Whether it's just the coverage, whether it is returning.
I was going to bring that up. Special teams is such a big aspect of the game, and like not to be all traditional or anything, but like you got to win in all three phases, And yeah, like you mentioned, a lot of guys get their start on special teams. It's a great spot to just like run out there and make some tackles, hit somebody, get some playing time. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't know, man. I could do without it, I guess.
I guess I could. I think it would be a little less exciting to watch, but probably a little safer. But regardless, the special teams impact is still going to be very important. Maybe it becomes less important when you take out the kick returns. But let me remind y'all that the Chargers, I believe in 2007 or 2008, were number 1 ranked in offense and number 1 ranked in defense. But they missed the playoffs because they were 32nd in special teams.
Wow.
So special teams are very special.
That is crazy.
Yeah. Tyler asks, is this it for Lamar and the Ravens?
No, it's
it is not.
He'll be back.
He will be back.
He'll be
with a
back.
vengeance.
Don't you worry, Tyler.
Yeah, big trust. I think, obviously we talked today, Lamar Jackson, not quite there yet. He's still making a few rash decisions, but overall he has improved so much. He's getting better in the playoffs each year. And then the NFL, this Todd Monken, his offensive coordinator, did a really great job. Mm-hmm. He won an MVP with Greg Roman as his coordinator, and Greg Roman is he's had some mistakes in his career. Isn't really able to run counters and stuff with that. So with what Lamar has had so far, he's been amazing, and he somehow continues to get better in different aspects every year.
Yeah.
Even if he's not running for 1,200. So no, yeah, I don't think this is it.
Yeah, no, and I think he's about to win his second MVP this year, and I don't know, show me one MVP that's gotten traded right after.
Exactly. If you're talking about him getting traded, yeah, there's no chance. They're paying him all that money. They're such a worse team without him.
Yeah.
And if you're talking about just the Ravens team themselves, I could see them getting to the Super Bowl next year. All they're going to do is just
most
get better.
definitely.
Go out and get some more assets in free agency in the draft. You still got most of the coaching there. You do need another D coordinator, but the good thing is that Harbaugh, which always has good personnel and defense, always well coached.
Yep.
Pretty good. And the last question for today is by Kyler. Can you comment on the relationship between Travis Kelce, Taylor Swift, and Donald Trump? Yeah. Homer Simpson. No. And that's all I'll say on that. Thank you guys so much for listening and watching the Onside Kick Show. Hope you guys enjoyed this episode. Check us out on Instagram at Onside Kick Show. Check us out on YouTube if you're listening right here on KRUI. Gavin, any last words?
Thanks for listening, everybody.
Take it easy. Signing off.